There are seasons in life when the shadows gather so thickly around us that we begin to imagine this is the final picture of our story. The whispers of doubt come quickly in those moments, telling us that the world has already measured us, that our limits are set, that the obstacles before us will remain immovable forever. Yet it is in such moments that heaven begins its quiet work, and often what looks like the end is merely the pause before a divine unveiling. Elevation does not come with noise and spectacle at first. It begins in silence. Just as seeds are buried in the cold darkness of soil before they break open with life, so too are you often hidden before you are revealed. Those who thought you finished are watching soil, not realizing that roots are forming in secret. Those who laughed at your silence will one day marvel at your rising. Enemies, whether they are people, fears, or unseen forces, always measure you by what they can see. They think in terms of weakness, of present struggle, of the valley in which you now walk. But God does not measure you by this moment. He sees the summit even as you stumble on the path. He knows that the weight of today is shaping the strength you will need tomorrow. Your present opposition is not proof of abandonment. It is proof that a greater unveiling is at hand. When God elevates, He does not merely restore you to the level of your peers. He places you higher than the voices that mocked you, higher than the expectations that limited you, higher than the traps that were laid for you. It is not vindictiveness but justice. It is the reordering of things according to truth. Those who tried to bury you will see you rise, and those who underestimated you will see the scale of what heaven had in mind all along. The hand that lifts you is not hurried, yet it is certain. It is steady, patient, and precise. At the right time, in the right way, your life will become the testimony that no scheme, no betrayal, and no failure has the power to hold down a person whom God has chosen to raise. You may be standing in the valley today, but the mountains ahead are already waiting to echo your victory. One hidden growth precedes elevation, just like a seed buried in the soil. The hidden seasons of struggle are where your deepest strength and unseen roots are formed. There is a mystery in the way God works with those He chooses to elevate, for His greatest work often begins in hiddenness. Consider the seed that must first fall into the ground and vanish beneath the surface. To the eye, it looks like it has been discarded, buried, perhaps even forgotten. Yet, in that dark and unseen place, the most essential work is taking place. Roots are stretching out, foundations are being laid, and unseen strength is forming that will one day sustain the visible growth. What appears to be loss is in truth the beginning of life, and what looks like silence is in fact preparation for revelation. So it is with your life when you find yourself in seasons where progress seems invisible and recognition seems distant. Those who observe from the outside may assume that nothing is happening, but heaven knows the truth. Growth in the hidden places is growth that lasts, for it is not shallow or temporary, but deeply rooted. The buried seed does not remain buried forever, for there comes a time appointed when the soil cannot hold it down, when what was once concealed breaks forth into light with undeniable strength. Your hidden seasons are not wasted. They are the very ground upon which your elevation is being prepared. When the time of rising comes, the fruit of what has been done in secret will speak for itself, and no voice of doubt will be able to deny it. The delays that seemed painful will reveal themselves to have been the very tools that shaped you into one who could carry what is now being entrusted to you. Every moment of obscurity is a chapter in the greater story of being elevated beyond what anyone expected. To enemies judged by sight, God works by vision. Those who doubt you see only your present weakness, but God sees the summit long before you arrive. Enemies and doubters measure everything by what they see, but sight is shallow compared to the vision of God. Human eyes look at your present circumstances and conclude the sum of your worth. They see the stumbling, the lack, the delays, and imagine that these moments define the whole of your story. They judge by appearances, by what can be counted and compared in the present. Yet God does not work by sight. He works by vision. He looks beyond the fragments of today and beholds the completed picture of tomorrow. Where others see weakness, he sees potential. Where others see limitation, he sees destiny unfolding. The opinions of people are always bound by their own expectations and their own understanding, but the vision of God is not confined by such narrow limits. Your enemies may predict your end based on where you stand now, but God has already mapped out the heights you are destined to reach. When people dismiss you because of your current struggle, they are judging a chapter without knowing the book. Vision sees the summit while feet are still climbing the rocky path. Vision sees the harvest while the field still looks barren. Vision sees the sunrise while the night is still dark. God's perspective is not confined to the moment, and his plan is not defined by appearances. Those who underestimated you will find themselves astonished, for the reality they thought permanent is only temporary, and the struggle they believed would hold you is in fact shaping you for the very thing they could not see. Human sight will always measure you too small, but divine vision has already written a story larger than they can imagine. 3. Opposition is evidence of destiny. Resistance and criticism often confirm that you are on a path towards something greater than others imagined. Opposition has a way of announcing destiny more clearly than applause ever could. The resistance you face is not always a sign of failure, but often the mark that you are carrying something greater than others expected. If there were nothing significant about your life, there would be no reason for forces to rise against you, no motivation for enemies to whisper, no need for obstacles to multiply. The presence of pressure is often the confirmation that you are moving in the direction of promise. A tree that bears no fruit attracts no climbers, but one laden with abundance always draws hands that try to take from it or weigh it down. In the same way, your battles reveal the weight of your calling. Every word spoken against you, every scheme designed to trap you, every door seemingly shut in your face is not the end of your story, but a signal that something worth fighting over is on your life. The enemy never invests energy in places that pose no threat, and the intensity of the struggle is often a mirror of the greatness of what lies ahead. What feels like a storm designed to break you is in fact a storm that testifies to the vessel you are becoming, for ships built only for calm waters are never targeted by waves. It is the vessel meant for long voyages and deep seas that faces the fiercest winds. So, when you find yourself pressed on every side, do not despise the opposition, for it may be the clearest indicator that you are on the right path. Resistance shapes resilience, and attacks confirm assignment. The very presence of struggle is evidence that destiny is unfolding, even when it does not yet appear visible to those around you. For divine elevation surpasses human expectation. When God lifts you, he does not restore you to average. He raises you beyond every limit and scheme that was meant to hold you down. When God chooses to elevate, he does not merely place you on the level of those who doubted you. He lifts you beyond the very boundaries they tried to set for your life. Human expectation is always small, limited by imagination, circumstance, and comparison, but divine elevation is limitless. What people thought would be your ceiling becomes the floor from which God raises you higher. Those who plotted your downfall will see that their schemes only served as the soil for your rising. The same mouths that predicted your end will be witnesses to your new beginning, and the very stage where you were once ridiculed will become the platform where your transformation is revealed. God does not restore you to mediocrity. He restores you in a way that surpasses human understanding. It is not about vengeance or pride, but about displaying that his ways are higher than human ways, and his plans stretch farther than human eyes can see. The elevation he brings cannot be explained by connections, resources, or human favor, because it was never born from those things. It comes from a hand that is sovereign and a plan that has been prepared long before your enemies ever thought of resisting you. When this kind of elevation takes place, there is no argument strong enough to deny it, and no opposition powerful enough to reverse it. What once seemed impossible becomes undeniable, and what once seemed unreachable becomes the very place where you stand. This is the kind of lifting that silences doubt without a word, for the evidence speaks louder than explanation. The story of your life becomes proof that no limitation, no betrayal, and no attempt to bury you can stand against what heaven has already decreed. 5. The timing of heaven is perfect, though the rise may seem delayed. It will come with precision, leaving no doubt that it was God's hand and not man's favor that lifted you. The timing of God is unlike the timing of man, for while people rush to prove themselves, heaven works with deliberate precision. What feels like delay is never neglect but careful preparation. A sculptor does not rush his hands when shaping something of beauty. He takes time, chiseling away patiently until the final form is ready to be revealed. So too does God work in your life, ensuring that when the moment of elevation comes, you will be prepared to carry it with strength and endurance. There are seasons where waiting feels like silence, where doors remain closed and opportunities seem withheld. Yet in that silence, foundations are being laid that you cannot see. If elevation arrived too soon, it would be fragile, unable to withstand the weight of responsibility. But in its appointed time it arrives with stability that cannot be shaken. The hand of God is never hurried, but it is never late either. He orchestrates moments with accuracy, so that everything aligns beyond human calculation. What looks to others like coincidence is actually divine arrangement. The people you meet, the opportunities that appear, the shifts that take place in your circumstances all unfold at a pace that no one else could design. When the lifting comes, it will be clear that it was not your striving, not your cleverness, and not the favor of men that placed you there, but something higher, something that no human hand can claim. The timing of heaven is perfect because it reveals glory in such a way that there can be no confusion about its source. What once felt like waiting in vain will reveal itself as waiting in wisdom, and every season that seemed wasted will prove to have been necessary for the strength you now carry.